I trust you're doing well and you're watching RwandaTV News live from Kigali. I'm Ethan Teshuvia.
And I'm Gloria Mutesi. Thanks for joining us today. Hi Ethan, how are you?
Hi Gloria, I'm very good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Doing well?
Yes, I am.
Having a good weekend?
It's just starting, but hopefully it ends up being really nice.
Sure. So what do you have?
Well, we have quite a number of items today, but starting us off tonight, a cross-section of parents are happy that schools are about to reopen after a long time of children being home without physically going to school. Now, the Ministry of Education says that those studies are continuing in Kigali schools. The fight against the pandemic must continue. In Nora village in Gisozi sector at Nyiramyasiro Josephine's house, children are outside playing. The mother says she encourages her son to play from around home and not go far. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, all schools in Kigali, both public and private, and universities have been closed for a while. However, according to the resolutions by the cabinet this Friday, schools will be reopening with effect from next Tuesday. Parents have taken this as good news. As parents, we're extremely happy because we could see our children had become traumatized. There are even times you would tell them to go read their books, and they say it's not relevant and that they would study when they go back to school, and when you force them, they would still disagree. Children not being able to go to school was a burden to both parents and children. They were sad and so this is a big deal that they are going back to school. We are more than ready to support them by giving them face masks and encouraging them to practice social distancing and avoid spreading the virus. Construction works of new classrooms to reduce overcrowding in schools are nearing completion, but there's still work to be done. In addition to the newly built classrooms, there are also new schools that have been built to reduce the distance students commute to and from school. Although schools in Kigali are to open next week, the Minister of State in charge of primary and secondary education, Twagirayezu Gaspar, says the fight against the pandemic must continue. Even when they get to school, the battle against the spread of the pandemic must continue, as well as the focus on the education of the students too. If they don't have good quality education, they'll be affected in the coming years. It's something we've been concerned about as the Ministry of Education, and we've taken a while working through it so that when all children go back to school, we will solve the issues as they keep arising. The Ministry of Education also says it's designing measures to address the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic in schools, including the cost of the COVID-19 prevention materials. That is still a challenge in some schools and more. Well, Ethan, are you among these parents that are happy as well?
I'm very, very happy. I've been spending much of the time with my son at home, but I think he's been losing a lot without going to school. So I'm one of those who are welcoming this decision. I'm
sure as many parents out there are. And of course, among the other resolutions that were come to in the recent cabinet meeting were the resuming of some other operations like restaurants.
Yeah. You know, restaurants and cafes, they usually actually operate as offices away from office.
Absolutely,
so this is something that most people in Kigali and other parts of the country are going to be happy about.
Well, tell us more about that.
Yes, on that specific matter, preparations have begun in the reopening of restaurants and cafe services in persons dining with effect from the 23rd of this month. The Ministry of Health has reiterated it's important to set up COVID-19 prevention measures as they resume their work. Umari Jedi has this report.
It has been a while since restaurants and cafes have been in operation, but preparations are now underway as the cabinet meetings last night gave the go-ahead to resume their operations. Currently, preparations are underway as many are looking forward to restaurants and cafes opening next week. We are prepared. We are immensely prepared to comply with the COVID-19 regulations. One of the resolutions passed by the cabinet on the 19th of Friday stated that on the 23rd of this month, hotels and restaurants will resume hosting customers physically at a 30% capacity. Those working in the hospitality sector have welcomed the decision and will implement the COVID-19 prevention regulations.
First of all, we have to go by the instructions given by the cabinet. This will be done by creating social distanced washing area and taking temperatures before entering.
We are grateful and will follow through with the strategy set by the cabinet in the fight against COVID-19. In addition to restaurants and cafes, markets are now allowed to operate at 50% capacity of registered traders. Traders are grateful to hear the news as they say they have suffered losses during this closure. By increasing the capacity to 50%, it gives others that were stuck at home the ability to come and work. We will also continue to adhere to the strategy set by the cabinet in the fight against COVID-19. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ngamije Daniel, urges restaurant owners to learn from their previous mistakes and refrain from turning restaurants into bars, as had been the case in the recent months.
I would request people that we do not return to the challenges we encountered in October to December of 2020, where we found restaurants turned into bars. We would not like to see the same issues arise. You have seen the consequences of those irresponsible actions, and I would hope that no one wants to return to that.
Chairman of the Rwanda Hotels and Restaurants Association, Sengiyumva Barakabuye, says talks with restaurants and cafe owners give hope that no one will violate the COVID-19 prevention guidelines.
What we've requested and repeated within the institution is the need to adhere to COVID-19 regulations.
The new COVID-19 prevention measures will take effect on the 23rd of this month, where restaurants and cafes will accept 30% capacity of customers, with in-person dining closing at 6 p.m. However, takeaway and food delivery services are permitted to operate until 8 p.m. Umngari Jade, RTV News.
Thanks very much, Umngari Jade. Now, as a majority of people invest so much of their social media content just for pleasure, some say they use their accounts for business. Depending on the content, Jen Mutoni has more.
At 20 years old, Ishimi Richard, who graduated high school at College Don Bosco, was found in the Fab Lab, making a technological wireless machine that can be used to switch on lights and close doors with the help of social media.
My idea was to make two machines that can coordinate wirelessly. Usually, I first buy the tools, then follow tutorials on YouTube on how to make them. Most of my emphasis is on the electronics part. I keep trying until I succeed. Sometimes, when I fail in the process, I usually communicate to my colleagues who then send me links that could help me improve or make some changes.
Many people have started to realize the power of different social media platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook and others as a way one can use them as business depending on the content, as explained by Jackie Lumbasi.
But you could also have your personal business, a personal business that you're failing to advertise on radio or TV because it's expensive. Use that platform to advertise your business. Because now instead of you talking to just a few friends on phone that you can text, friends whose phone numbers you have, here you are, you have random people from across the globe checking on you once in a while on your Twitter, Instagram or Facebook page. Why don't you go take the advantage of you being there and attracting all these strangers to sell that product that you are manufacturing?
Chief Executive Officer of the Rwanda ICT Chamber, Alex Ntare, says although some people are generating income through social media, there are some who still struggle in this field, hence their investments turning into losses. He says a program called Ihuzo or iWorkers has been launched in order to help the youth to profit from these platforms.
Now, internet workers, we're looking at them in 4 categories. One is the freelancers. So you can list your skills on platforms like Upwork. You can list your skills on different global platforms and you're able to generate work for yourselves. But we also have, in the local market, we have digital services agents. And digital services agents today have been responsible on extending government services across the country. What we are working with some of the players is to see how do we extend other services from maybe smaller private companies, IT companies, that could be doing different things from fintech to e-commerce to content distribution and so on.
The Ministry of ICT and Innovation says according to the statistics, over 9 million Rwandans use mobile phones. Only 8.6% are familiar with technology. The goal is that by 2024, the percentage should have increased by 60%, which is equivalent to 5 million Rwandans. Currently, 80% of the Rwanda population uses ordinary cell phones, while 15% use smartphones. The internet has reached to over 58% from 7% in a span of 10 years.
Thanks very much, Jane Mutoni, for that report. Now, Ethan, I know this is something that is close to your heart, social media.
Not close to my heart. Probably close to my pocket, yes. But close to my heart, not sure.
Yeah.
By the way, how do you guys do it without the use of social media? I know you're not so much into social media.
It's preference, I guess. Or some things are just, okay, some people do not belong somewhere. So I believe I'm one of those people that I use social media to consume content, like to learn, get information, but putting out information or content is still something that I'm learning to embrace. Baby steps, though.
Do you judge us?
No, we are grateful for you guys that use social media because we get to learn and get entertained as well.
Well, yeah, keep using social media, but you can also
it's a very good thing.
Use it to make money as well.
Absolutely, definitely.
All right, moving on. People across the country have said that even though the measures to fight COVID-19 are being eased, it should not be the root cause to be complacent. As Ghislaine Mugwaneza tells us, vendors appreciate the resolution from the cabinet meeting where working hours were extended to 6 p.m. from 5 p.m. starting February 23rd. She has this report as well.
It is in the morning hours in the busy suburb of Nyabugogo. People driving cars, motorcycles and bicycles, as well as the pedestrians, are going to work. At a place known as Kisimenti, fruits vendors are claiming that they are losing out due to the shortage of working hours, which has led to a few buyers. Passion fruits, watermelon, lemons and pineapples are getting damaged. This is all because of not working every day. Another thing is that we close and go back home early because we close at 5 p.m. The clients that used to buy for us in evening hours are no longer buying for us because of the fact that they leave their working jobs at 5 p.m. too. We close the shops without selling and we find ourselves losing. However, the vendors appreciate the resolutions from the cabinet meeting that was held this Friday, 19th of February 2020, where working hours were extended to 6 p.m. from 5 p.m. starting February 23rd. We were closing at 5 p.m. and that is the hour that clients would be coming. This added hour is enough. We'll have clients that come to buy for us. Places of worship will also resume by next week with no more than 30% occupancy limit. The believers have also expressed their gratitude. We appreciate the government that thought of giving us the opportunity to pray together again. Gathering together with the power of believers is better than praying alone. It has many benefits because when people come together, they spiritually socialize with each other. They share the word of God together as well as sharing different blessings. People say that even though the measures are being made easier, they should keep fighting the spread of the pandemic. There is no reason to take this for granted because the pandemic is still there. People are dying and we are in time of preventing ourselves. The Minister of Local Government, Professor Shakana Stars, says that people have taken their responsibility to fight the pandemic, but encourages them to continue respecting the measures in place. The greatest role is an individual one. That is the role we want. We do not want COVID and its preventive measures to be only for the government, but for Rwandans too. The taken measures are to protect Rwandans. That is why they should also practice their role. We call on everyone that sees a person working without wearing a face mask to tell them to wear it properly. That is the level we wish to reach, where we all have the same burden. That is the partnership we want to build.
bituma nyine kwirinda bizamuka bigatuma n'icyorezo kigabanuka kandi turabishima.
Since the outbreak of this pandemic in Rwanda in March 2020, 17,929 positive cases have been so far recorded, with more than 16,000 recovered, while 245 people have died as a result of COVID-19 related complications. Shislan Mugwaneza, reporting for RTV.
You know, Ethan, food for thought. Now that the churches are going to resume, I speak on behalf of the Catholics. You know, Lent period has started.
Yeah.
And usually ideally, Lent period should start with Ash Wednesday, and it was Ash Wednesday this Wednesday, the last Wednesday of this week, yeah? I'm just wondering, so when we resume church, do you think we shall get Ash Wednesday or Ash Sunday? Or
who makes the decision, the Pope or the...
I think so, but I guess in extreme circumstances, like it has been with COVID-19, I think they should give it consideration. Speaking for all the Catholics out there.
I cannot relate, but if you need it,
it's essential for Lent period, like a pure start for Lent period.
You deserve it. They should give it to you.
Well,
tell us what you have.
Well, in other news, some vulnerable people who are relocated from high-risk zones to houses built by the government have been expressing concern about not having the right of ownership or even the right to renovate their new homes. We have this report.
Mukamana Therese, a resident of Rugerero sector in Rubavu district, says she's happy to have been helped to find a house in Muhira Modo village. She was relocated from a high-risk area about 2 years ago.
I was lucky to be given a modern house. I live in a small house with poor conditions.
Despite having been given a free house and other best benefits, she also wants the right to ownership of this house. This is something she shares with her colleagues who reside in this model village. According to these people, they have no right to renovate or even carry out economic activities attached to their houses. The challenge we have include not having the right to renovate. A window glass of my house broke, but I cannot replace it. Same for my neighbor. We have no right to ownership, and it makes it difficult to make decisions on property you're not sure of your future.
Without the right of ownership, you cannot renovate a house that is not yours. With full ownership, some of these issues would be addressed. Another issue is lack of space to carry out vegetable farming, which is a challenge to feeding.
Rubavu District Deputy Mayor in charge of social affairs, Ishimwe Pacific, assures them that the houses will be handed over to occupants after 5 years.
Usually, people are not given the right of ownership as soon as they move into these houses. We first examine their behavior, and that takes 5 years. That is the policy. But after 5 years, occupants are given the right to property after examining their conduct. In some instances, we have seen beneficiaries being responsible for destroying the houses given to them, or even selling the houses and going back to live in high-risk zones, becoming a burden to the government.
The Rubavu District Administration says it has a plan to relocate 1,400 vulnerable households living in Nyondo, Kanama, and Nyamyumba sectors. In 2020-2021 fiscal year, 122 needy families will be given new homes in model villages, with 48% of the construction works so far done. Now, this Saturday afternoon in Ngoma sector, in Ngoma sector of Huye district, 23 classrooms were inaugurated at various schools in the sector. The students point out that these new classrooms will help them improve the quality of education, but also prevent the spread of coronavirus. Gabi Muvunyi has this report.
The students of the school that acquired the new classrooms say that they are certain that these new classrooms will help them further their studies. Beneficiaries add that they are happy they will no longer be crowded in classrooms, hence preventing the spread of the coronavirus. Before, we used to sit 3 people on a desk. Now, with the new addition of the classrooms, we can sit 2 students by following the COVID-19 prevention guidelines given to us by the government. What these new classrooms will help us is to allow COVID-19 social distancing guidelines. Now, with the new classrooms, It will reduce overcrowding and help reduce the spread of the virus. Besides the students, teachers also stressed that the addition of the new classrooms will help them in monitoring the students' progress in learning. Placide Kabagire is a teacher at the School for Children with Special Needs that acquired 5 new classrooms. He acknowledges that the new classrooms have come at the right time because overcrowding of students was a major issue. These new classrooms will help us. We used to have large number of students crowded into classes, but now, with these new classrooms, we can spread them out and also be able to follow the progress of the students, because students with hearing and speaking impairments have difficulties following when they're around many students. Huye's deputy mayor in charge of social affairs, Anosiet Kangesha, says 393 new classrooms have been built in the district, including 311 built by the government of Rwanda and 82 others built with the support from the World Bank. Majority of the classrooms are completed, except some that still need window installation. At this point, we are very happy. Even though we said we are handing over these classrooms this week, what is left is just fixing in windows, painting, and some final touches. There was a shortage of windows in the market because around the country, there are around 22,000 new classrooms being built, and we're all getting materials from the same place. The deputy mayor also stated that the issue of the payments to the builders has also been resolved. This Saturday, 23 classrooms were inaugurated in Goma sector in Huye district. Gabi Muvunyi for RTV.
As you always say, our time is fast spent and we cannot go beyond that.
It's been a wonderful 35 minutes.
Yeah, and thank you so much for your company. On behalf of the entire news production team, we thank you so much for your company tonight.
Stay safe, enjoy the rest of the programming, and until next time, I'm Gloria Mutesi.
I'm Ethan Tashabia.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.